With every bit that we learned, the dots were connecting. By the end of the conversation, we were decided. Puerto Rico rose to the top of our list, and what's more, it was feeling like it would be something that we could do with less of a headache.
So when I got back home, immediately started setting up calls with Puerto Rico attorneys, accountants, relocation experts, and all of that. This was in March of 2021. Here's what we learned that changed everything and convinced us to sign a July lease that year for an apartment 5 minutes from the beach in Puerto Rico. Here's the reality. For a long time, we were overwhelmed by life in the mainland US. We were working and investing in real estate to grow our wealth, while struggling to find peace of mind. We were doing all the right things, right, financially and having success, but 3 years ago, we were done with the status quo in America, and we had to ask ourselves, was the success enough, and what was it costing us? Was there anywhere else we could have success and a better lifestyle and better health? Hi everyone, my name is Mikey.
Hi, I'm Travis, and we're Coupled Investments.
Today we're going to share our journey from pretty stress-filled process of researching places abroad that would meet our lifestyle goals without having to sacrifice long-term wealth. And we're going to share what we learned about Puerto Rico that changed everything and pushed us to transition our entire lives down here. Moving to Puerto Rico was a re-energizing step and a financial game changer for us too. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. So we decided to double down on something we had been talking about for years and researching over time. We moved that 10-year timeline to leave the US and reduced it. We needed to figure out what was next ASAP. I had a list of places I wanted to go, and we started with those list of countries that we had some ties in or some experience in. So Germany, France, Netherlands, UK, and Belgium, they're at the top of the list. I was excited because most of these countries were also on the top 10 list for a lot of the things that we care about: culture, food, expats, all of that. I didn't expect that what we would come to learn about Germany several months later would change our plans entirely. We looked at Germany, which has a really high standard of living. It has modern infrastructure, a great public healthcare system, and I reached out to friends living in different parts of Germany, like the city of Stuttgart, to see, what they thought. Stuttgart was promising based on what they shared. It had safety, like the Germans have restrictions against the use of private guns. They don't have issues of mass shootings and all of the violence that comes with unmanaged gun control. According to our friends, Stuttgart also had a decent expat community, reasonable cost of living, and there are also tons of cultural and outdoor experience that we like too. And it was well situated in Germany too. So Stuttgart sits in West Germany, where there are tons of major train routes to other major cities like Paris, Vienna, Brussels, Zurich. And we thought this was it. Stuttgart, Germany.
Stuttgart, Germany, this was it. We had friends there, we can get around with English, and we have a community to learn German with. Our healthcare would be thousands of dollars cheaper because Germany considers type 1 diabetes to be a chronic condition that public plans have to cover all treatment for. As a type 1 diabetic, this was a huge factor for me. At the time, my US-based medical plans had strict caps for deducting out-of-pocket costs. Only costs above 10% of my gross income were deductible from my taxable income without using a health savings account. That meant I would have to spend over and above $9,000 at the time before I could count a single cent of these expenses as deductible. Even with the use of an HSA, the high deductible plans I was forced into using would often disincentivize recommended care and procedures, since they were cost prohibitive. Planning the financial impact of my health requirements was a major issue for me. I was so used to hearing horror stories of diabetics who died or suffered serious health and financial setbacks because they couldn't afford their care in the United States. We wanted to move to a place where those extremes would be vastly minimized or even taken off the board altogether. Guess what? No one goes bankrupt in Germany or suffers serious health issues because they can't afford their care. Who would have thought? Quality of life requirements were a check. We were off, and we started thinking about when we would visit and scope out places. We were trying to see who else in our network was living out there. As the months rolled on by, that initial excitement started to fade as we dove deeper into, one, how our wealth was going to be impacted, and two, what were the logistical steps to gaining residency, as wherever we chose to put down roots, we wanted to be able to stay long term. The news wasn't great. The information that was a buzzkill at first was that German residents are taxed on their global income. This creates the potential to be taxed twice by the US and Germany, and we thought that wasn't great. We learned, however, about the foreign earned income exclusion on the US side, which means you can deduct a certain amount of your foreign income when figuring out how much of US tax you owe. Okay, problem solved. No, there are these changing rules and exceptions that was adding more complexity than we wanted to deal with.
Investigating Germany taught us what to look out for, though, early, and changed our approach entirely. So here are 3 things to keep in mind if you're searching. 1, U.S. citizens must report all income from all sources globally, and you are taxed on that income. For example, if you own rental property abroad, which we plan to do, this must still be reported on your tax return. 2, some countries tax you as a resident and tax any income you're earning outside of their country as well. Number 3, the U.S. foreign earned income exclusion basically has limits. So this rule allows you to not count some of your global income, but there are thresholds to that. There are several more considerations too, like how your Social Security, Medicaid benefits will be impacted for the time you're abroad, bank account reporting rules, etc. This is all pretty important, and it was important to us because you might have some unanticipated liabilities if you're not tracking these things. And in a bit, I'll share why we didn't even have to worry about half of these issues in Puerto Rico, which was a big appeal. By the way, if you're liking this video, if you like this type of content, consider joining our newsletter using the link in the description. So we provide any tips that we're learning along our journey so you can grow your wealth smarter no matter where you live.
We prioritized minimizing complexity and maximizing opportunities. Over the next couple of months, we kept going. We consulted with friends, lawyers, tax experts, we listened to podcasts, and we read books, all to learn how we can continue to manage our wealth and be able to do what we love most, invest in real estate while abroad. We went through a roller coaster with each country. We looked at Netherlands, UK, Belgium, France. We would get excited, we would research, we would talk to people about each place. However, with each one, we would come across a logistical, financial, or quality of life barrier that would be a deal breaker for us.
It wasn't like we were being unrealistic. We recognized that every place, no matter how idyllic, would come with its own set of challenges, some of which we wouldn't be able to predict until we were actually there. But we were also clear on what we needed, what we were looking for, where we were in our lives, and thus what were our non-negotiables. We wanted to reduce complexity, for example, and maximize opportunities. We were almost a year into our research and still going, and not related to anything that we were doing at the time, looking for places. We planned a strategy retreat for ourselves and decided to go to Puerto Rico. We had visited before and loved how easy it was to get there, and we always had a good experience on the island, a good time on the beach. So we're in Puerto Rico.
And while we were lounging at the pool, we started a conversation with this couple who were entrepreneurs on the island. A few years before, they moved their family and their entire business from Tennessee. We were really impressed. And immediately we started to ask them questions about how they did it and why. With every bit that we learned, the dots were connecting. By the end of the conversation, we were decided. Puerto Rico rose to the top of our list, and what's more, it was feeling like it would be something that we could do with less of a headache.
So when I got back home, immediately started setting up calls with Puerto Rico attorneys, accountants, relocation experts, and all of that. This was in March of 2021. Here's what we learned that changed everything and convinced us to sign a July lease that year for an apartment 5 minutes from the beach in Puerto Rico. 1, the quality of life was palpable. Like being in the Caribbean felt familiar and it was comfortable. As Caribbean-born people, we have similar food, rice and beans and stews and everything. The vibrancy, the value for culture, it's all present here. 2, cheaper healthcare that's not dependent on employment. So you can go out without being tied to an employer and purchase your own healthcare. Number 3, there's a lot of expat rules we can completely ignore. For example, U.S. citizens are exempt from federal income tax on income generated in Puerto Rico. Income generated in Puerto Rico is paid to Puerto Rico. Another piece is that there's no foreign earned income exclusion rules to keep track of. So there's no FBAR and FATCA rules and complex reporting requirements for Puerto Rico income, no tracking of bank accounts, etc. The last thing is that the U.S. rules for properties and investments were similar. So we could invest in rental property, invest in real estate, just like we were doing on the mainland U.S. Number 4, Puerto Rico has special programs and generous grants to support and encourage entrepreneurs like us. So there we have it. We made the move 2 years ago, and our lives have been quite interesting since then. There have definitely been ups and downs and moments of existential crisis, like when I was actually boarding the plane with my whole life in tow, and this weird feeling of guilt arose when I realized the irony of returning to the Caribbean for some of the same reasons that my parents left, right? So what does it mean to give up on the stereotypical American dream our parents so desperately sought after when they immigrated to the U.S.? That is a question for another time.
If you're liking this, you'll love this video where we break down Puerto Rico's programs and massive grants for entrepreneurship. We're using 2 of them with plans to use a 3rd.
All right, thanks for sticking around and for subscribing to our channel. We'll see you guys next time.